Hi, Betsy.
Betsy. Hello and welcome. What a great turnout for this wonderful program. A few library announcements. First, we are at the beginning of an exciting expansion project. And part of that project is a bigger space for programs and events. So if you would like to know more about that, there is information at the desk. Also, our summer reading program, help us prevent the summer slide with the kids. They earn checkpoints throughout the summer for books read, and they eventually, with every checkpoint, are essentially building their own archaeological kit. So by the end of the summer, they've got a full archaeological kit and fossils to dig out. So if you'd like to donate to that, we do have an Amazon wish list accessible by this QR code. It's also on our website. And then next Thursday at 2 o'clock, we have Dr. Dutton back. He's going to talk about the ABCs of screening, what you need, all about what screening is what, including vaccines. So if you would like some medical information, he's a great presenter. He's been here several times. So a big welcome to Miss Betsy Rich.
All right, Betsy.
So today's format's a little different, just so you know, that you might notice a different setup. I'll let you do an introduction.
I am Betsy Rich. I live at Libre, but for the past 11 winters I have lived here in La Vida because I'm aging. And it just is, and I can't drive, I have macular, you're all a blur. You're all a blur. So if you say hi to me, I will often say, who is it? Who is it? Anyhow, I'm glad you're here, and over the years, there's just been all of this talk about the different communities, especially in Gardner. I call it alternative lifestyles, which America has a lot of different alternative lifestyles. And the communes in their time were part of that. Libre is not a commune. The only commune, these are the people that know. They were there.
You're supposed to know. That's why you're giving
I know it also.
the
But the communes were the Red Rockers. I don't feel like the Ordovies or Libre. We were always an artist community. And people who are curious get, and who have read the book. Which, by the way, is fairly accurate, in my opinion. But anyhow, I'm going to try and clear up some things because we have people that come through every summer. We're always nicer than the historic community, historic people come every year. And they even have a four-wheel drive so they can get up to the Rock House, which they can't get in because it's inundated with rats and mice. So, but they can look at it from afar. Anyhow, okay, we're going to work it here that I will be asked questions. Did we decide about people interjecting? They can when they want.
I'll pause, so this is broken up into different sections, so I'll pause at the end of each section of questions and see if you have any more to ask on that.
And does anyone know what year this says? I can't read it.
It says 30 years.
The 30th birthday. Okay.
Let's say 98.
Is it the 30th?
Yes,
Okay.
it's 98.
And then 5 years later, Jim Fowler designed this. And 5 years later, he did the same shirt, but we were all skeletons. So we all have our Libre shirts and had great parties for many years. And we will proceed here.
All right. So the first section is background and personal connection. And the first question is actually also for you guys. So I'm asking, what is your relationship to Libre? If you're a current or former resident, please raise your hand. If you are a neighbor, please raise your hand. That would be you guys.
That would be us, okay.
They're the neighbors.
And then I'm assuming the rest of you are researchers or admirers.
or not admirers.
Curiosities.
Curiosity, yeah.
All right. How long have you been involved with or interested in Libre, or when did you come to Libre?
I was first at Libre, and I believe it was 1973. I was living in Los Angeles. Babs here was my good friend. We went to college together and studied music. And I was having a sad love affair, end of a love affair. And you know how that goes. The tape loop just won't stop, you know. And friends who were living out here, Patsy Krebs and Jim Szilagyi, said, well, they were visiting us in LA, where they were also from. And they said, you need to get out of here. Why don't you come with us to Huerfano? And Patsy Krebs had been a good friend of Dean Fleming. They had dated before Dean got married. And so I joined them, and it worked like a charm. And my first story is the first person I met was at the AAA. And Jim and I, you know, went over one day. And he says, Adrian, I want you to meet someone. I want you to meet someone. And she rolls out from under a car and says, hi. And that was the first person I met in Huerfano. Then I went in the house and met the other AAA people who were getting ready to move into their communities, onto their land that they bought, which is on the other side of Libre, the other side of the valley.
Nice. What did the process of moving to Libre look like?
The process was interesting. I came with my son for a year because I had been here often. From that first visit, I kept coming back and visiting. And you have to talk to everybody at Libre and say hi, and I tended to know all of them pretty well at that point. Babs and Brent had been living there. They were in LA or getting ready maybe to move here. I can't remember exactly. You can chime in. You can chime in. She doesn't remember either. You can chime in anytime. And so you just have to say hi and what's your plan. And I said, you know, I was planning to stay for a year, but I kind of like the Gardner School, you know. And it's preferable to the one in Los Angeles down the street in the barrio where I lived. And so we worked it out that we were staying in Brent's house, the one he had built at Libre. And Brent had been married to my sister, and of course Bo is my nephew. And we talked to him, and he decided that I could have his structure. And he called while I was having a meeting to say this is what, and Libre wants to know your plans. You know, you can't buy and sell places there. You can't get loans. You can't do any of that stuff. Houses are usually given over if somebody's not going to be there. And that's what transpired. So it was fairly easy for me to get into Libre. And of course my sister was living up the hill. And I used to tease her and say, well, I was here first. You know? But anyhow, so that's how it came. Yeah, that's how I progressed into being at Libre.
Do you have a favorite memory there?
I have lots of favorite memories. I can't remember because I'm a bit dotty anymore, but one of the things when I visited was getting in the only vehicle on a Tuesday with the laundry and going into town and there was no water yet, and taking a shower at the RV place that is still there in Walsenburg. And you can still take a shower there if you want. And then going and eating at the Central when the Central was there with Danny and Shirley, and having good Mexican food and drinking Coronas, and then heading back home. And that was just you know, like a bunch of people in the back with all their laundry in the back of the truck, you know, and then the driver and whoever was in the front seat. And that was a great and fun memory. And we'd run into the Red Rockers. The Red Rockers were always there too. And we just had fun. We were in our 20s and we had a lot of fun. So.
Thank you. I know I said after each section we'll have questions, but just so that we don't jump the gun, I think it'll be better if I go through all the questions, and then if you have any. Okay. The next section is founding and history. When was Libre founded, and what were the circumstances or ideals that led to its creation?
Okay, it was founded by Dean Fleming and his then wife Linda Fleming. And they were living in New York. They're artists. You know, again, Libre is an artist community. It was never considered a commune, ever. Yes, you will hear me say, I'm taking my show on the road, and I'm calling it, I raised my son on a hippie commune. You know, so that's just, you'll hear us refer to our place as a commune, but it never was. Anyhow, the Red Rockers were, and I lost my train of thought. So
What were the circumstances or ideals that led to its creation?
Dean and Linda wanted to get out of New York, and they had a friend that passed away, and he came from a wealthy family. And his name was Rick Klein. He inherited a bunch of money, and he said, go somewhere, find some land, I'll pay for it. And he did. And we got 360 acres of land. I think it was for $12,500. And we got it from Tony Pondo, who lived down the road. And he thought that, and I wasn't there then, I was just visiting. So I'm telling you the story that I've heard second and third hand. And he just said, you know, because a lot of people weren't sure about the hippies, you know. They thought, boy, what about them? And he said they won't last a winter. And here we are going on to 60 years. It'll be, in May, it'll be 59 years. And so, yeah.
Who were you mentioned a couple of founding members, but other founding members or influential figures that you'd like to highlight?
Well, all right. Some people came up from Drop City or from down, which I don't remember the name.
New Buffalo?
New Buffalo, thank you. From New Buffalo. And some people were in Drop City around Trinidad, and they came, and Jim Fowler wanted to move in, and then Peter Rabbit, I can't remember where he came exactly from. Anybody in the front row remember? Anyhow, Peter Rabbit, and apparently Jim Fowler, the way he got in was nobody knew him, but somebody said, he knows how to fix cars. He didn't have any cars. There was one truck, and he had the Humpmobile, which of course is in the book, the Humpmobile, which you can imagine what that is. And anyhow, that people came and visited, and ended up staying because they fit the criteria for what Libre hoped for. And that was finding a spot where you could build something. Now, if any of you want to get on and look how some of the things were built, you'd get a big kick out of that. It's called sizzle. And a lot of people have been interviewed, and you're seeing a lot of the homes that had no foundation. And some of them are falling apart to this day. Because Brent Stewell built my original, I have a house that's very solid. And then when I added onto it, I made sure it was on a foundation. So, and that came some years later.
Any significant events, challenges, or milestones in the history of Libre?
Always, and I won't get too personal. Yeah, it's the guys that tend to knock heads a little more than the women. The women are the negotiators to a degree. We women are really really good. We are, you know. And so the guys occasionally bump heads, and it's always about water. Our first discussion in our yearly meeting is water. And boy, it's going to be a dandy this year.
Yeah.
You know, we all know that. That's
Not a
here.
dandy.
Well, I'm being facetious, you know, because we know it's going to be kind of scary for all of us. So, yeah, I mean, there are lots of things. I may just be talking about one thing and say, oh, I remember.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Love that. The next section is daily life and community structure. What does daily life look like, and how do people live, work, and make decisions together?
We do that very carefully, you know, and we all get along until we don't, and then we have our moments and there's yelling and screaming. And again, it's mostly the men that are worried about, you know, getting the pipe right that's going to the ground, that's furnishing lower Libre the water that it's supposed to get, and that kind of thing. And sometimes we used to have to be unanimous about a lot of things. If one person vetoed a plan, it didn't happen. And you could go for years and that same person was vetoing the plan. And, you know, and it got difficult. And one of the people that we've lost in the past couple of years did all of this stuff for us. He did all the research about our minerals, about conservancy, about our water, who we had to negotiate with to put us in the situation we are in. And we also finally went to the majority rules. However, you know, because that veto thing, and this person one day we were all walking along looking at things we needed to cut back, and he said, no, I veto that, and I looked at him like that, and I said, we don't use that word anymore. And I meant it. It was like we'd heard it for so long. So there's stuff like that, but for the most part we get along and we love the land. And we love the land, just like you guys love your land, you know, living here or where you are. And that's the most important thing. So we lean towards conservancy. Our kids are running Libre now, all of our kids. President, vice president, treasurer, my son is the secretary. You know, and when we're all dead, they finally may go, we're changing all those bylaws. we just don't know, but they're with us right now. And how we feel about the land is really important. And conservancy, if the kids just aren't using it, if people aren't moving in as we would hope, if there's an available house, you know, I don't know, it'll be in their hands.
What is life like in Libre for the youth, and what is schooling like?
I don't remember this question yesterday. Our kids had a great time, and I tell my own son periodically, you know, you had a unique upbringing. All the parents kept an eye on the kids. If there was a snowstorm and so-and-so wasn't home, and there were no phones then, chances are they were down at Muffin's house, or they were over at the Fowler's house, or, you know, that kind of thing. And the kids just ran wild through the forest, and they, in addition to the Native Americans, the indigent people prior, they really created the trails again. You know, they found them, and they used them, and now we can use them, you know, because our kids did that. And they were good, you know, I feel like they got what they wanted. They always ate. We were all poor, but they always ate. They always got to go to proms. Parents went to basketball games. We all did that stuff. And they got to get braces if they needed them. That was a tough one because braces were expensive then, you know. And they have a camaraderie. They all tend to get along. They don't see each other. They're all they all want to go to the other side of the mountain. This was our life. This was our life. Their life was, we want some money. And they've done that. They've gone over the mountain and they're making money for themselves and they're making a life. So we don't know, and once we're gone, I guess it won't matter. Hopefully they look at all the notes and this and that and say, oh, Conservancy. We're right up against BLM land, our 360 acres. And we like that, that's fine, you know, so.
What are some community traditions?
I don't know.
Birthday party.
Oh, thank you, Beth. I need you. Yeah, we had birthday parties for years. I was not here for a lot of those. My visits, you know, and then my sister moved here. And they were every year at first because we were young. You know? And then as people got into their 40s, I came here when I was 40. With my son. He was 5 and I was 40. And I've lived here almost 40 years now. So anyhow, I'm losing my train of thought again.
Birthday parties.
The what?
Birthday parties.
Oh, the birthday parties every year. And then what happened in I think the 40s is everyone started complaining because we had parties, man.
Yeah.
We had good parties. I mean, people were there that we didn't know. In 1 year, we guesstimated, but there were about 400 people there. And that was all in the valley, Walsenburg, Pueblo. People, I sat down and talked to some kids. Well, who are you? Oh, we're just down from Pueblo. You heard about the party, man. So, anyhow, and then they became every 5 years, and they were really structured, and it was so cool. I was always on the cleanup committee because I'm very neat and clean. So I always volunteered to do garbage after the parties, and Dave Roberts would come every time. We'd pick up all the glass bottles. They all got recycled. We had security guards there. When we had the bigger parties, and we had porta potties, and then we had people that wanted to be vendors and come in and give food, and we had fun. And these people here probably were at every party. And we just drank our beer, and we tried to have local music, and they were just really great. And now we don't have them anymore because we're ancient.
When did Libre get electricity and water?
I may be off on this, but I think the well got dug in 1979, and Dean and Linda were there in 1968. And then we had Puffenhauser come and dig the well. I wasn't here yet. I was in California still, but I know this through the stories. And so that was 10 years. So that's a big deal of hauling water and no cars, and you had your milk gallons filled with water or however it was worked, and we're pretty together now. We got it kind of together, but I didn't get water until I moved there. Actually, Brent had another story. I love Brent. He was so good at this. I had a 50-gallon drum in I had a bi-level house downstairs and then a loft. And so what he did is he got a 50-gallon drum and he hung it, and it had a clear plastic, and I'm sure Babs remembers this, clear plastic in it. And I could see, and then we had a small tank up above that I had to fill from the well house. And I remember I'd keep an eye on that clear thing, but my son would take a bath, about maybe 1.5 inches once a week, and then I would get in his bath water after. And we'd do our hair, and we'd do that kind of stuff. And that happened, and then finally I was able to get a cistern and a pump right up to my house. And I finally had a bathroom built when I had the addition built onto my house. And boy, that was great because I had a porta potty for years that I had up in the loft, and I had to carry that porta potty full of you-know-what down the stairs and down the road. And I did that once a week, and I guess I was strong then. Because the thought, I laid in bed the other night and I thought, oh my God, if I had to do that, I would fall down the stairs, I would break my neck. The porta potty with all the shit in it would be right up there. And so when you aspire to having a toilet, man, there's something really cool about that. You never think of a toilet the way you have before, you know. You want it, and you want it to work all the time. So it's that kind of deal. And yeah, it's progressed, and my son recently came forward over the past years and put some money. He's been off working away and put some money into my house, which was starting to look kind of shacky. And he had it stuccoed, and he had the inside redone, and it's now a really comfortable little home. It's not huge, but I've got a really nice sized kitchen with a couch and table in it, and a rocking chair and a piano. So,
What about electricity?
electricity I got later. I think I ended up paying around $7,000, and I got to pay it off. Izzy, who lived up above, he was the guy that did all of our research and was Izzy Zane. His hippie name was Izzy Zane. Izzy Zane or Izzy Inzane? You know, and I always called him Izzy. I think Babs might have too. We didn't call him David. But anyhow, he got buried. His was $12,000, but I got to pay it off over the years, and I have water. Water's also what you want to have.
Essential.
It's essential, or we can die.
How do you stay warm in the cold months?
For years, I had a wood stove, and I always got my wood cut, you know, and so all I had to do was haul it in, and I loved it. Once it really got going, it really kept the house warm. But over the past year, I got a propane in there because I won't use it much in the summer, obviously, but when I get there in May, it's still cold, and hopefully we have that big May snow that we always have. We're all crossing our fingers. So yeah, so that would be more money, propane.
Were or are visitors welcome to Libre anytime?
More or less. I mean, you know, if I see somebody going up the ridge and I'm the only one at the bottom of the ridge, I look and I go, I don't know who that is. And sometimes I'll meet them on the way down and I'll talk to them, and it's often okay. Yeah, we have looky-loos. We've had nice guests over the year. We've had unusual guests. Some of them that were here, I wasn't here for that. You know, we had, I can't remember the guy's name, the poet that was...
I was just thinking, the poet.
The poet.
He was from San Francisco.
No, he came from, was he? He came with his lover. He came with his lover, and he was a very famous poet.
Ginsberg?
Yeah, Ginsberg.
No,
I was thinking of
no,
Turtle Island, who's that?
I'll remember it.
Oh, Gary Snyder. Gary Snyder.
No,
No? Okay, that's what I thought it might have been.
more famous than that. No, seriously, because if I don't know the others, not that I'm an aficionado of poetry, I'm not. But, and I remember the name, and then I forget, and then I remember, but boy, his boyfriend was cute. And I hated that he was gay. Even know, gay people can be, you know, I have gay friends, it's fine. But damn, when they're that cute.
Was it Lars by any chance? Lars?
No, I knew Lars. No, it wasn't Lars. This was, oh God, I know I'm gonna remember. And Ashley, when I tell
Snyder?
her.
Was it Gary Snyder?
Come on, he was really popular.
Alan
Wasn't
Ginsberg.
it Ginsburg?
There
Ginsburg.
you go,
Oh.
Val.
Ginsburg. Thank you.
It's been telepathic.
Ginsburg had a cute boyfriend, huh?
Yes, oh my God, we've got pictures of him somewhere. Sibylla does, she's the picture taker. Oh, there is Alan, yes, with his lover, you know. So we've had interesting people come through, Europeans, and that's always fun. And we often go to Sibylla's house because she can create a nice salon feeling. And we talk about stuff, whatever the stuff may be. Water, poetry, food, lots of food talk, politics, and it's always interesting. So summer up at Libre is a wonderful time, in my opinion. I love to be there, especially in the summer. The winter's rough.
If someone wants to leave Libre, what is the reaction from the community?
It's usually fine with them, it means there's an extra house available.
Right.
Because you can't sell or give your house away. Well,
Right.
I guess you could give it away, but
Yeah, you can
normally
give it.
you let it go.
Yeah, and if I'm giving it, they have to go around to the people to make sure that, you know.
They're accepted and liked.
And it works, the vibe is good. You know, we all have instances where we meet people and the vibe isn't great. And you may still know that person and say hello to them, but you don't necessarily want to hang out with them, and that's fine, we're allowed that. But a lot of the people have been just interesting people. And yeah, it's my family of friends over there. I love them. And Dean fell in the creek a couple of years ago, and I always walk behind his house. I walk every day. I'll go down the road and then I'll go back behind his dome. And he came, he was like, and he's whispering, he said, Betsy, he said, I fell down in the creek and I couldn't get up. And I said, well, did you have your alert? No. You didn't have a stick? No. And of course, his wife got pissed off. And I told her, I said, don't tell Dean I told you. Because he and I laughed because I'm a faller. I fall a lot. And I get up and I say, I keep walking. I might have a limp, but I keep walking. I get really mad. Anyhow, so yeah.
The next section is values and philosophy. What values or philosophies are most central to the community?
I'll only speak for Libre, but I think, again, these people sitting here that I've known for years had similar feelings. And it's taking care of the land. I feel, my own opinion, is that we humans have not been good custodians of the planet. We've taken all of the stuff and just shoved it down our throats, and we've, you know, buy. And I'm guilty of some of that too. I'm not just pointing fingers. I think we all can just, it's called trending, you know, and you get on that wagon of trending and you have to have, my son had to have Jordan shoes, right? Well, I couldn't afford Jordan shoes, but his father bought them for him. So it's those things that we grow up with, and it also keeps us compliant in some ways, and easier for us to make decisions because we already know the answer, whatever.
This next question kind of fits in this section, but could also be very veered off. What makes Libre special?
Bunch of cranky old farts.
The people.
The people are interesting. Even the ones you get mad at, you give it up because it's just much more important to get along with people. And again, you can stay away from those people to a degree, but they're part of your family, and you work with them and they work with you. And we all Twitter about each other, behind each other's backs here and there, and we all know that that's happening, you know, but we still manage, and we'll still come together for dinners. We'll still celebrate our birthday on May 23rd. We'll get together for dinner. We'll do that stuff, and that's important, you know. Love thy neighbor, and believe me, I'm not a Bible person, I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person, but you got to get along with your neighbor, and if you don't, then you got to stay away from them. Yeah.
The next section is changes over time. So how has Libre changed over the decades? What is the same and what has evolved?
I don't think it's changed all that much, except our kids are running it. And
Plumbing.
plumbing, oh, thank you, yeah, I need help on this one. Plumbing, you know, we've got it, and we don't ever want it to go away, and we don't want it to break down, and kind of deal. But the values have remained the same, and we always lean towards conservancy after the fact, like what's going to happen with the land. We have people that argue or behind each other's backs about somebody's mitigating, and we have to mitigate. You know, fires are very scary, and fires don't. Mother Nature doesn't care about humankind. And some people then go, oh, they just mitigated and cut down hundreds of trees, and it isn't hundreds of trees. It's maybe 20 trees in certain areas, and trying to do it to make a, you know. So it's all about the land, though, and loving it. And we do love our land, and we feel grateful that we have it. And we always say that. We're really pretty good at saying that out loud. Like, whoa. I say it here when I walk. I mean, some of the days are incredible. They're beautiful. Then you go up your mountain here, and it's like, oh my God, look at this. So these are the things that should be important to us, I believe.
As far as changes over time, what were some of the struggles and or triumphs that stick out to you?
Struggles are, again, over arguing about water and how we're going to deal with it. And we pretty much know that we maybe aren't going to get to fill our tanks to the top, maybe the first time. And then after that, we just logically know that, okay, I can maybe only get a quarter or a third of a tank of water, you know, have it all kind of worked out. So the struggles have always been that, and laying pipe and trying to, we just got new pipe after 45 years, and it was more expensive. It was good pipe compared to the pipe that we could afford several years ago when it first got put in the late 70s. And so that was a wonderful treat. I mean, that was like, yeah, you know, that's really great. And we have an ag status. We grow garlic, so we have an ag status for that, and sell it. And that's all worked out through the county and blah, blah, blah.
What is the current state of the community today?
I think it's good, and we even are the ones that say, damn, we're still doing it, you know, because we do think of the times when it's hard or there's arguing, two people spitting on each other when they're yelling, and that's never good. We don't like that. The spit, I mean.
The next section is about neighboring communities and local relations. How close were the Ordervies, Buddhist, AAA, and Red Rockers communities? And how did they differ from Libre?
I don't think they differ a lot. Obviously, apparently, DKD, and I used to know the Chinese name for that, and I don't know it anymore. Anybody remember Dorje, Bled, we call it DKD, and we've been friends with the Buddhists that come and they stay a length of time, like 6 years. The people that just left have been here for 12 years. We always party with them. They love to party. We just got a stupa put in, and it's so amazing to be in the boondocks and walk up this road and see this stupa. I'm not a Buddhist, but it's still amazing, this monolith in the boondocks. You know, it's like, oh my God, this is wonderful. And we've always been friends with them. They came around the same time Libre, around 68. I can't remember when Ordervies came, or exactly the Red Rockers, but the Red Rockers, in my opinion, were the only commune. They lived in a big dome, and all of their clothes got washed and thrown in a pit, and when they were going to get dressed, they pulled it out. They took turns cooking, they took turns doing the dishes. You got to take a shit right next to somebody else if they were coming up when you had to go to the bathroom in the outhouse. And that was hard for me. That was hard for me, but we talked and made light of it. And so Ordervies came about the same time, do you guys think?
I don't know.
We don't totally know, but they lived down the road maybe about 3 miles. And they're dealing with some of the ways I'm talking, they're dealing with some of the thoughts of their land. We're laying it on our kids, you know. So they're talking, and I think maybe the AAA may be the same way too, talking about how, okay, here are the kids we have that will possibly do this and possibly do that, because it's just logical. And I've not talked in any length with the other people about this, a little bit, and it seems to be a similar way. And they like the idea of conservancy also because, you know, we're takers. Humans are takers, and we take too much. We take too much wood. We take too much water, for that fact. You know, we take too much stuff. And our children do know that we feel that way. And like I said, they can tear up all the bylaws and do it exactly as they please when we're all gone, and that's their business.
Was there ever any discourse with the surrounding communities?
It's what I told her yesterday. Some people, I don't think that there was much, but I have heard that people call Libre elitist, and I don't feel that way.
Betsy, she said discourse,
Discourse.
not discord.
Oh, I meant
Discourse,
I
meaning
forgot.
interactions, discourse.
Okay, thank you. I forgot what I said.
Okay.
You can discuss both.
Okay, but anyhow, I think we all got along. We still, I still love seeing these people who don't live here anymore. You know, they're my longtime friends. You know, I've known them, and I had their kids in school, and you know, and we think similarly about stuff, and so I think, you know, yeah, the Red Rockers, there are only 2 people there now, and one is very ill. The husband is very ill, and AAA's getting old, and Ordervies, and yeah, I think it's just logical to talk about it. Well, okay, we better start talking to the kids, you know.
Making plans.
Making plans.
Yeah.
How has Libre's relationship with the local community been?
I actually love our relationship. It was difficult in the beginning, when we go down to the bar, and I wasn't there all the time. This was when I was visiting. And the Trujillos have a bar there, and the mother worked there. In fact, she died just a couple of years ago. And she hated the hippies, and we'd go in and buy our Coronas and leave tips, but she would always apparently, I only heard this, wipe off the seats after we left. Because we were dirty hippies, and we were on our way to get showers at the RV place in Walsenburg, so. And it was hard, but I ended up working at the school. I luckily got to teach music in the Gardner School, and I was there for 17 years. And I started off with Gail Mace volunteering. We volunteered for, she and I did it for about 4 or 5 years, and then she said, I'm out of here, and I just kept going. And then with the help of Sibylla Wallenborn, Sibylla Wallenborn and I, we did all the Christmas programs, any kind of program we ended up doing, and we worked our asses off. And finally what happened with me, because I was not an accredited school teacher, I never graduated. I studied music, and I knew enough to do certain things. And so did Gail. She just knew. I don't think she studied piano for years. But Julie, I think, ended up getting grants to finally pay me after about 4 or 5 years of volunteering a couple days a week. And I just felt passionate, as she did. It's same with art, you know. We had one teacher that helped with art, but art was really important to Julia Marchand, and music. So we did that. We just did it.
How is Libre's relationship with local and state government and law enforcement?
We avoid them.
Sounds great.
We can't. We avoid them. That's one of the reasons Libre got founded, was they were trying to get away from Big Brother. You know, you cannot totally get away from Big Brother, no matter how hard you try. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. But yeah, we do as little as we can under those circumstances. And Libre is a really nice community. Ornavis is a nice community. AAA is a nice community. I miss the Red Rockers. You know, they were fun. They were a bunch of Beverly Hills 90210 kids. You know, they were fun. But anyhow, it was a nice alternative lifestyle, and I think we all raised pretty nice kids, and they had a unique upbringing.
The final section is legacy and representation. What would you say is Libre's influence and legacy?
I don't know. I mean, just hearing maybe what I'm saying. Obviously, I love Libre, and I've always considered us really regular people, all of us. We're just regular people. We wanted braces for our kids. We wanted them to go to college. My son chose not to go to college, but he found a good job in LA. So, you know, and the jobs are in the cities. And the legacy, again, is to maintain, try to get people to be able to live in the houses. They'll be available to them, and there's no rent, you know, that kind of thing. We throw money here and there for our roads and stuff. But it's just trying to live and appreciate, and our kids somehow understand that to a degree, you know. So they get to, I'm trying to find somebody who will take my house, and I know who I want, but he won't give me a yay or a nay, you know. And then my son wants to come back and add on, so he could then have his own, because he's a steward of my
Domain.
My domain, yeah. And so, yeah, that stuff's all iffy, but we want people to live there and appreciate what we appreciated, and the guys can keep fighting if they want, you know, they can do that thing, and the women can keep negotiating. And
You touched on this a little bit at the beginning, but you can expand on it now. Do you feel that the book Huérfano by Roberta Price is an accurate representation of Libre?
I personally do. I was surprised. I thought it was, I think she really captured some of the stuff. Some of the stuff was a little rough at times, things you won't necessarily talk about because they're personal things. But I do. And she lived there for 7 years, and I thought she got it. Do you, Babs, do you feel that she captured some of...
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
She did a good
I do
job.
too. And I thought she was fair enough, and some of the stories were kind of bizarre, but they happened, I think.
That's the whole
Still true.
living space organization.
Right. We did have, and Ashley would like me to tell this, we always were getting plagued with growing pot, and there was not as much pot as people seemed to think. And I used to get so mad, those really big-ass airplanes would fly over, and two guys hanging out of the side with their binoculars or whatever, and it was like, God, it was annoying. So I fixed them. I took all my clothes off, laid out my chaise lounge, and gave them the And I did that more than once. I said, fuck off! Pot is safer than alcohol!
And to be clear, the one on the front of the book
is not female plants, it's male plants. They pulled them all up because you want to get rid of the male plants or they'll give your pot seed. Seeds. And now we can legally have some pot, and I always had a couple of plants, and the girls are beautiful. They're sweet and they're sticky, and I haven't smoked pot in years. And boy, anybody have a joint? I'd love to smoke a little right now.
Not at the library.
Not at the library.
Gotta go off property.
Yeah.
What are some common misconceptions about Libre?
The elitist thing. Now, again, maybe I can have help from my friends on this. Is it because of the artist community and artists tend to be elitists? Or anybody else have a thought on that? Because
I'm just thinking that maybe people think, besides selling garlic, how did you make a living? How did you live if you don't have money?
Okay. Oh, I am glad you said that. Let me tell you. A lot of hippies worked, and guess what they did for work every year for years and years? And I'm pretty sure you guys participated in some of that. They planted trees
Tree planters.
all over Colorado, all over other places, and it was a job. And they made their money to get through the winter and buy their big thing of rice, their big thing of beans, so talk about hippies never working. I taught at the school and I worked at the bar on the weekend. And I had a problem with that because here I'm teaching kids and here I'm throwing beer around, on the weekends. And the kids knew that. But in these places, you take whatever job you can get.
Yeah.
Because I raised my kid by myself. My family helped with certain things. They were wonderful. Birthdays, Christmas kind of thing. But no, you work. I cleaned houses. I cleaned my neighbor upstairs, up the road, and he had a little more money, and he paid me really well. So hippie types do work. They do figure it out. And it wasn't all just dirty hippies. Only once a week,
How would you get there?
We had one truck.
Yeah, they had it.
We had one truck, and everybody piled in. You're talking about maybe 3 people in the front of the truck and the rest with their laundry. And there were probably around 13 people then, or 11. And maybe the wife said, no, I'll go. And maybe the next week the husband said, I'll go. or partner or whatever they were doing at the time, kind of deal. So yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't, you had to want to do it. You had to want to be there and be on the land. And then enjoy each other on weekends or get together for this and that and community stuff. And the people, early on, they were really involved. The hippies were really involved in the school. And like Linda Fleming put all of these kind of little horses on springs and stuff, or something that she pulled together. And so we always participated. I volunteered endlessly when I was young, at the school obviously, but at the little library we had, and so that's a way of giving back, and there's no money stuff going on. Big Brother isn't taking 3 pennies out of your $10 or whatever the deal is. So it's just really wanting to have this different lifestyle and love it. And ranchers can talk about this endlessly. Some ranchers have been here forever and ever, and they love the land, and they love the beauty, and they love their homes.
What from Libre should be integrated or would be helpful in this community?
In this community?
Like well, all of Huerfano, but essentially outside.
What
from Libre or integrated? What should be integrated or helpful outside of Libre?
I really ended up loving the Gardner School, and I lived there and I worked there. I ended up feeling like it was a better school than the ones in Walsenburg. And it was always being threatened to be shut down because we were part of Ray 1. It's a charter school now, and I'm happy about that. It was a very nice school, and the teachers were all accredited and amazing. And Julie Marchant made sure to get the mix of people that I personally love integration. I like integration of people because I like to eat their food. or I just like to be able to say hello to them. But just saying, wow, man, you grew up on this? This is great. I love it. I got on really well with the community of people, and the kids see me to this day, and I can't say. They go, Betsy, it's me. I go, who are you? So they can't see. I used to tell them, we'd sing songs and stuff, and I'd say, and they always, the early teen, the pubescent, oh my God, they're difficult. And I said, you just wait. Someday you're going to be on an elevator and you're going to hear this song. And you're going to go, and sure enough, they come to me. And little Rachel Schneider came up to me at Pat McMahon's memorial and said, Betsy, you were right. You were right. She said, kids just, all they do is disrupt. They don't pay attention. And we laughed about it. I said, I told you. But that was a highlight of my life, working at the Gardner School.
I'm going to open it up now.
I have a question. On the average, how many people actually lived in Libre at one time?
I think in the early days I'm going to say there were about 13 maybe.
Okay.
And now we have, I think, 11 people. Obviously, the kids are gone. The Fowlers had 4 kids. I have 1. Leon had 2. My nephew Bo lived there. So that's counting the kids.
Okay.
Did you live on land of this 300 acres without paying taxes? Or
No, we
was
paid
there a
taxes.
committee of some sort that was set up like a governing body in your group?
I'm not sure I'm getting exactly what you're talking about, but we do and did pay taxes. We do pay taxes.
So there was a committee of some sort that was.
No, well, we're all part of the board of directors. So obviously the secretary has something to do with dealing with making sure some of that happens and it gets paid on a yearly basis and that we have the money for it. No, we paid taxes all along.
So the land is owned by all of you?
It's owned by all of us, yes. We're, I don't know if we're all on the deed, but I think we are. Yes, we all own it.
And you had mentioned yesterday that each house has 20-something acres.
This is my guesstimate. Babs might have a thought on this too, but I think when the houses were being built in the early days, the rule was you can't be in view of another person's house. Okay, if you go up to Izzy's house, which was above mine on top of the world, you see all the houses, but like, so I'm guesstimating that I have about 25 acres to myself, and that the people down the road from me have around 25 acres. You kind of have, you know, because you can't see their houses, so we all have our own space, and that's really neat. It's nice.
So you meet at a certain time of month when things come
No,
up?
we meet once a year, so we don't yell and scream at each other. We do that, and now our kids are dealing with some of the stuff, and again, we mostly get along. And we all have the basic similar attitude about how the place is supposed to be or how we all feel comfortable with it. And it's worked. We're not sure why, but it's worked.
So when in the day when there were what 13 people all living there,
Yeah, there
was
are
there
9 houses there.
was there a community hall and you would all meet there for dinner or something, or did you
No,
all have your own little thing?
no. What we do is when that was happening more, we'd go down into where we had all the parties and stuff, which is down in the woods, and it's a big space, maybe about, not the back of the room, but maybe about the size of this room here. And that's where we had all the parties, and there's a table down there, and we'll have things there. We'll meet there. And sometimes to play music or to have dinner with each other. But as we've gotten older, we go to each other's houses. Like when my son visits in October, when he comes for my birthday, he cooks. And I don't cook. He cooks. And he's a good cook. And so I'll say, so now they don't call them Betsy's parties, they call them Cole's parties.
Yeah.
They call them from my son. So yeah, we get together, and we'll get together probably on May 23rd for the Libre birthday, and we'll probably either we often go to Leon's because he has a big space. We can always go to my house, which isn't quite as big, but you know. But Sibylla's has been the place for the salon and the good conversation.
I have a question.
Yes.
As an arts community, do you ever have events or anything for promoting or marketing your art?
You know, Dean used to. He used to, when we had our parties, he would collect art from people in Gardner or surrounding area, you know, that wanted to show their work. And he'd set it up in his dome. And so the people at the party could wander over, it wasn't far from the party site, and go into Dean's dome and look at the artwork and stuff. And I just spoke to Dean, we were having a conversation, and he was, again, he's 92, he doesn't know why he's alive, but he keeps on trucking. And he was lamenting about what he was going to do with this artwork. Well, we already know his son is going to be in charge of his artwork and his mother's artwork, because she's an artist also. And I said to Dean, I said, why don't you have a yard sale? He's got 3,000 paintings.
Oh, my word, wow.
That might be a guesstimate, but it's really close to it. And I said, why don't we, and you know, I said, obviously you'll have to have help. We'll all need to help you. I said, why don't we have an outdoor thing? And you can decide how you're going to graduate this artwork. And he can't get out 300 pieces, so, and he can't even fathom doing any of that at this point because it's too difficult. So it's almost something we'd have to do with our kids, get them to try and come and visit over the same long weekend or something. And I said, you can give away some of the things and you can graduate up in some of the things. He has some huge paintings, you know, that size, you know, maybe a little shorter, maybe those two things, panels. And he can barely think of it, so that will fall on his son Luce, and poor kids. Oh, yes.
I just wanted to say, back in probably 10 years ago, before Emily bought the Mercantile, Sandy was the director. Tom Dirk owned that building, and we had a panel of people who lived in all the different communities out there, and the whole place was full of their art. And it was Brent's idea. Brent put it together.
Well, they had the park side, and that was wonderful for it because he showed a lot of art.
But
Yeah.
we had the whole Mercantile over here was just full.
Was full, yeah.
So people from Drop City came up.
Oh, wow.
It was great.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe something like that could be done again, but yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thought, and Luce will, because you know, Dean is showed at the Metropolitan Museum, and he showed for the timing of like a lot of 60's people that were painting. And apparently they had him and they geared it for him to get on a particular elevator, and they opened it up and one of his paintings was right there. And these things are important to artists, you know, you put your life into this stuff. And I'm sure that Luce will probably spend the rest of his life. He's got his own job, he works from home, he's an editor, but he's going to be taking care of his parents' work. And I'm sure he's going to try to sell some of it. You know, so that means he has to be in tune with the art galleries and the different situations, and I think that will be the rest of his life. And what is Luce in his 50s, maybe 53 or 54 or something, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, again, the poor kids. And then I'm sure, you know, I have a couple of Dean's paintings. I have one in my house at Libre, and I have one here in the apartment. And I didn't buy them. He just let me, one he gave to me, and the second one, I just said, can I borrow it to have it? And he's not going to ask for it back. So it's mine, you know, kind of thing. And yeah, Brett and Babs were really great about showing different artists' work at the park side over the years. And it's important.
It was fun.
What's that?
Music. It was really fun. We had music
Yeah,
and art.
absolutely.
And
It was
dances
great.
and parties there.
It was great
It was
fun.
really fun. Yeah.
So, yeah, and then here are these artists. Look at Van Gogh, my favorite painter. Look at him. He's worth so much money, and the poor guy cut his own ear off. He was depressed all the time, and he made the most beautiful paintings and didn't get to enjoy only his work he got to enjoy, but he lamented that too, because he was a sad guy. So, other questions?
I got three real quick questions.
Okay.
Did you ever meet Abby Hoffman? Did you ever hike Greenhorn from Libre? And did you
No.
ever find any Native American
Yes.
signs?
Yes. We have lots of shells, fossil shells, from when it was underwater. It was the Ute Indians that were over there, and a lot of that has been picked over. Chances are, if you know what you're doing, you could find something. I'm not one who goes and looks for arrowheads, although I think they're fascinating. But the shell fossils, and I never hiked up. I used to be the one, I'm not a hiker, I am a walker. I walk every day, but I'm not a hiker. And I'd be the one in Libre, we'd say, let's go up to the top of Greenhorn. And so Muffin and Leon would ride their horses up. And I would take my truck up and take everybody's bedding, because we'd stay for a couple of 3 days or whatever. And we'd go up there, and those were really fun times. And Dean would hike up for many years. He hiked up to the top. And it was one of his favorite things to do. And yeah, several people did that. Wasn't going to be me though. But it was beautiful. Then you'd wake up in the morning and the rams would be up there, and they'd all be standing sideways, kind of like this, and looking at you, and they didn't move a muscle. And you could watch them for 5-10 minutes. And then finally they'd move, and you'd go, who instructed them to do that? How do they tell time? You know what? And so yeah, those are the amazing things about where we live. Well, what? Come on, share.
They never moved because of the mushrooms.
Mushrooms?
You know, collecting mushrooms.
Oh, collecting mushrooms. Oh, yeah, that time of year comes around. A lot of people, I did that a couple times, but I didn't know my mushrooms enough. But,
And Abby Hoffman, you said?
Right.
Did you ever meet Abby Hoffman?
I didn't.
Brent did.
Brent did? Oh, okay. There you go. There's a story. Do you know the whole story? Well, I wouldn't have minded meeting Abby Hoffman.
I think they stayed in his house.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Anyhow, it's been a good life, and I hope it's been a good life for all of you also. We have to appreciate what we've got. We're in a situation now that's pretty rough. And it's just nice to appreciate what we've got.
Thank you. Yeah.
Questions? Thank you for sharing.
You didn't, nobody asked about what? Sure, please. Nobody asked about the sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
What's sex, drugs, and rock and roll?
I have to dance with my cane now or I'll fall over.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. This was
Yes,
interesting.
yes. Thank you for being here. Remember, it's an artist community, not a community.
You can't do it.